call the special meeting of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency for May 13th to order at 7:04. May I have a roll call, please?
Karen Sullivan.
Win Miller.
Joe Corliss.
John Whitney, and our staff, thank you. Do we need to set alternates? Yes. May I have a motion to seat the alternate?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Everything's good, right?
Yep, no changes to the agenda, it's as is. Thank you very much.
May I have an approval for the agenda or a motion?
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Development Compliance Officers Report.
Hi, good evening.
Howdy.
You have a memo that was distributed for your review of the highlights of the items I'd like to discuss, which are not going to be heard tonight, is a follow-up and a update on 26 West Street with the filling of the wetlands pond. And we're still waiting for the larger piece of equipment to arrive to move the now compacted soil, which has been there since October 24. The Bobcat he has is not capable of moving that earth material, so he's waiting for that, and he is cognizant of the June deadline that was issued, and he claims that he's going to make the deadline.
Okay.
Any questions on that before I move to the next one? No.
No, I reckon not, thank you.
16 Horse Run Hill, to refresh your memory, that is the tree cutting without stumping within the upland review area and proximate to a wetland, and the piling outside of the upland review area of all of the cut trees. He's waiting for the wood chipper person to come, and he believes that that person will come in another week or two.
And this is the gentleman who built the bridge.
The temporary bridge for the wood chipper and the Bobcat to go across, the log bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Which will be removed after they've completed the task of wood chipping. Wood chipping is gonna be spread into the area that was disturbed, so it'll be good ground cover, but this ground cover coming up now, there's a lot of vegetation, predominantly skunk cabbage in that area.
Okay.
Trees don't really have a big canopy on it yet, so things on the ground are popping.
That's good.
9 Winchester Way, we are awaiting the submittal of an application and engineering plans from a firm that's out of Southbury that I've been in contact with as recent as Friday. They are confident that the filling that occurred was not filled in the wetland, but in the upland review area. Because we are considering the adjacent property that they encroached upon, which is owned by the town of Cromwell, and contains a subdivision stormwater structure. We're considering that to be wetland.
Right, yeah.
So, they in fact filled within 100 feet of the wetland. And they filled onto our property and dumped trees onto our property. So there's gonna be remediation that will be taken care of, and also, the placement of new monuments, which are covered by fill. Monuments were previously there indicating the rear corners of their property and denoting the town's property. So that's gonna have to get replaced, and that was the understanding with the homeowner. So they've been very cooperative, as has all 3 of these been very cooperative.
Very good, thank you.
Any questions?
No, that's
That's,
excellent, thank you.
That's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Lots of things going on. The Middlesex Hospital Office Building over at next to 180 Shunpike is moving along. We expect to see that open later this year. We're very excited about that. Have Middlesex Health here in Cromwell. We've got the new Mexican restaurant up on Main Street. We're getting ready for the TPC event, which will be especially big this year. So those are some of the things going on. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Pardon me?
Why will that be especially big this year?
Because it's a signature event,
Yeah,
and so they expect even bigger crowds.
okay, I didn't know if it was like a 25th year anniversary
No,
or something.
no, it just keeps growing.
Yeah. Very good.
attendance is pretty dramatic, you know. It's amazing. I mean, it's the biggest PGA event in New England. It's literally the only signature tour event in the Northeast, so. And that's a special classification for the TPC Tour, is to be a signature event.
Oh, very
So,
cool.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about golf, except it doesn't involve a field goal,
no.
so, but no, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions about anything else going on.
Anybody? No? Okay. Any public comments? Old business, application 2505, update on showcase hearing for an order of cease and desist, property of Janice M. Chepeletsky? I don't know. Violation of inland wetlands and water course known as 26 West Street Terrace. And that's what you just discussed, right?
Correct, that was part of the update?
Right, okay. New business, accept the application and schedule applications. 2502, application to conduct activities in a wetlands area at the Pride's Corner Farm, 600 Main Street. The applicant is Jack Sel, I don't know how to say that. And the owner is Three Sons of Cromwell LLC, formerly Three Sons Realty LLC.
So we have a new application here this evening, and this is an application to conduct activities within the wetlands area. So they're gonna describe the application, and the commission will make a determination as to whether or not they feel it's a significant impact and decide whether or not they wanna schedule a public hearing. So they can make a presentation. They have copies of your plans. You might wanna refer to those plans. Are there any extra copies left of that?
Colored copy. Yeah,
You have more copies?
yeah.
Is this in here someplace?
How's it going, everyone? My name is Jack, owner of Pride's Corner. We've been in business 48 years. We have a farm in Lebanon, Connecticut, and we've been in Cromwell for 9 years. We love
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
We bought the old Mullane's property, which I know 9 years, it feels like yesterday, because I've been in the business for 10 years. So 1 year in is when we purchased the Mullane's farm, and I've been there ever since. Love doing business in Cromwell. We did some work on our farm, and Bruce came to take a look at it, thought it was a good idea that we hire an engineering firm, so we reached out to SLR, who we've worked with in the past, and Megan here is going to talk about some of the what we did, and I just want to clarify that none of the work we did was in the wetlands. It was all happened in the upland review area, and so Megan's going to talk about that, and also we have a pretty robust restoration plan. We're a wholesale nursery, so we grow plants. We're actually the largest native plant grower in the Northeast, so we have plenty of native plants that we can really, we're going to restore this area to the max. So Megan will talk a little bit about that. And I'm happy to answer any questions after.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Megan Fogarty. I'm a wetland professional in training as well as a soil scientist in training with SLR. I'm here on behalf of Matt Sanford, professional wetland scientist and registered soil scientist with SLR. He did the initial delineation as well as the wetland assessment and the restoration plan, but unfortunately he couldn't be here tonight. So SLR was retained, like Jack said, after these activities were completed, and we were retained to complete an as-built survey, assess the wetland condition, and provide a restoration plan as needed for the activities completed. So here on this side of the board, you will see the as-built survey with the red lines being the existing conditions, the as-built, and the gray lines underneath, the contour lines being the previous
Excuse me,
conditions.
you know, that's kind of far for people to see.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Next time when you come, how we operate is you bring a laptop.
gotcha.
And you put everything on the laptop, and then we can put it on the screens and the public could see it. We don't use boards anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know
Okay,
that, thank you.
we haven't used boards in years. So, they have does everybody have a color copy, or you only have the black and white copies?
Just black and white, that's
So they only have the black and white copies, so when, you might wanna come up to the map, point out the area, so that they could look at their maps and figure out what you're talking about, cause they don't see any colors, and I don't know if any of us, I can't see this far and see the colors. So the mic comes off there, you can pull the mic out, and you might wanna step up and come to the board and, you know, try to describe this as best you can.
Thank you. Yes, if anyone needs me to bring this closer, I'm happy to do so. We can also pass it around if that's easier. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of the
That's okay,
precedent.
that's okay.
It is, I am planning to explain it though, and please stop me if it's unclear visually. But you'll see here that there are 2 areas of activities that were completed. On here on the left, on the western side, what we are calling the western bioswale. It was a man-made stormwater ditch, a vegetated swale, not a wetland, located up gradient of a wetland along a forested slope, a pretty densely vegetated and steep slope. And that was partially filled, and it is currently stabilized by wood chips. It is entirely stable. There were no signs of sedimentation or erosion in the wetland, and therefore it was determined that there was no direct wetland impact in that location. Similarly, on the east side, here you will see previously it was more of a small valley shape, forested valley, that was graded to create more of a flat area up top. And left an unvegetated slope up gradient of the wetland, again, outside of the wetland within the upland review area. And this area is currently stabilized by erosion control blanketing. And similarly, it is entirely stable, and there was no sign of sedimentation or erosion in the wetland. The wetland boundary is intact, and there were no direct impacts to the wetland. So next we turn to restoration opportunities and need. And we looked at the western side, and due to the small size, the man-made nature of what was actually disturbed, and the steep, densely vegetated slope down to the wetland, it was determined that there were no real opportunities or need for restoration in that particular location. And so we focused on the eastern side, where that unvegetated slope does have opportunity for restoration. And the plan here is to seed the area with a New England Conservation and Wildlife seed mix and plant about 60 native shrubs, which will, the anticipated outcome is to transition the area from the unvegetated state that it's in today to an upland meadow, eventually to a scrub shrub habitat, and ultimately to an upland forested habitat. And we are confident that the anticipated outcome will contribute to the long-term functions and values of the wetlands below. And with that, if you have any questions or would like to see the board closer, please let me know, and I'm happy to bring it around.
Could you tell us how much area was disturbed on each side?
I don't exactly have that calculation, but I'm happy to get back to
I
you with
think
that.
yeah, it is under,
Oh,
It's right on the plan sheet.
yeah, I'm sorry.
It says regulated activity table, activities within 100 feet review area. Western area, bioswale, 4,710 square feet. Eastern area, hill slope, 10,280 square feet. So those are both the areas where you applied the wood chips, correct?
The wood chips were applied only on the western side. Erosion control blanket and straw wattle was applied on the eastern side.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
maybe I missed it. What was the reason this was, for erosion control? What was the thing that precipitated this activity?
It was to create more flat space, just for our nursery operation, to create more usable space.
Where is this space?
Field Road.
Okay,
Field Road.
yeah.
It's right behind his house,
Okay.
kind of toward the back of the property, toward the Field Road property.
Where's the pond in comparison to this?
There's a larger area here.
So, there's not really a pond, it's more of a stream that goes through. There is a pond on the property, but that wasn't anywhere near any of the activities that took place.
Well, what's the relationship location-wise of this
Okay.
pond?
Yeah.
Cause this is kind of like two different areas.
Yeah, this
mapped
shows
on
the
one,
whole
right?
thing.
So this is the whole thing here? So the pond would be right here,
Okay,
right up there.
okay, thank you.
This is the road that goes down the property right here, kind of on, this is a steep slope here, and the pond is on this side of the road. Yeah, this is, Field Road would be right here,
Okay,
and this is Main Street, right on this side, just to give you a little.
good.
Okay.
And also, as you're looking at the plan, if you're looking at those contour lines, you can see that the activity that they're talking about, it's close to or within what I guess you could describe as a gorge.
Yeah.
Just, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area.
Well, I was thinking this was more towards the street that's to the left.
Beechwood?
Is that what the name of that little side street is?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
no,
there's
this
quite
was-
the drop off right there. That's where I was thinking this might have been.
Yeah.
Behind Mary's house. That's what I was envisioning.
Okay, so to the south of your prop line, there's a residential street, ends in a cul-de-sac, and there's somebody who does, some agricultural use that's
Yes.
there. That's what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I thought this drop off
It's similar,
was.
Yeah.
close to it.
Yeah, this big drop right here is, you know, if Field Road is here,
Yeah,
it's right there, right behind Tyndale, the electric, the guy who owns the electric company, he lives like right here,
okay.
and it's right there.
So obviously, I apologize for the misquote in the agenda. There are no activities proposed within the actual inland wetlands. So there is no significant impact, which means any activity, including but not limited to the following activities which may have a major effect on a wetland or water course. We're not having an effect, I'll be happy to read them
No,
if you
no,
want, but
well-
basically, we're not having an effect. We're not having an effect on the
I agree that
wetlands.
there's no impact on the wetlands.
So the commission, the application has been reviewed by the town staff. The town staff had no comments. Bruce has been working with them, obviously, from the beginning, so he's well-versed in the application. So, the first thing the commission would have to do if they wanted to act on it this evening is to make a determination based on the fact that there's no effect on the wetland or water course, that it's not a significant impact. So I would ask the commission to make a motion that, unless they feel differently, that there is no significant impact.
Can I have a motion? Either way?
Motion to say it's not a significant impact.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
And if the commission is so inclined, they could approve the application this evening, because there are no staff comments and they've made their presentation. So we would need a motion to approve.
Which would result in the issuance of a permit.
Right. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay,
Second.
we have a second. Any more discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go, thank you.
Yep, thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, and, apologize for
Yep, thanks, Megan.
doing this a little out of, turn. I'll make sure to apply for a permit.
Thank you. Excuse me. So the next application, and Bruce had talked about it, and I'll let him explain the status of it, is application 2506, which is an application, and I'll let him describe the activities, not sure if it's in the wetlands or not. And the applicant is Anthony Lazaro, and the owner is Anthony Lazaro, and this is the application at 16 Horse Run Hill.
Right, I believe, in looking at the minutes, that in April, is that correct? Yeah. In April, the commission voted to allow him to wood chip that material and not to take any enforcement action at that time, as long as he was continued to cooperate and to follow the guidelines that we discussed, which was removal of the 3 logs which constitute the temporary bridge crossing for the equipment to get to the wood chipping. And that is still the plan, so I don't believe there's any other action. I think this may have been put on the agenda in error, because because you already voted to allow that activity to occur, and we're just waiting for it to happen, and I give you an update.
So there was an application filed, and the application was previously accepted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for the error.
Yeah, it should be in your packet, the, application for, dated, April 3rd, and the fee was paid, the fee of $448.74 was paid. And I think that was the only other thing that you're waiting on, so.
Okay, cool.
And so maybe that's why it was on the agenda, because you had not known that that the application and the fee was received.
I think last time he didn't have the application yet, so.
So we've already made a motion to accept it? Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay. Then we have application 2507, which is an application to conduct activities in an upland review area at 186 Shunpike Road. The applicant is Carrier Construction, Inc., and the owner is Carrier Construction, Inc. I just want to give some background on this. So 186 Shunpike Road was the old Ewald Estate at the corner of Court Street and Shunpike Road, next to
Okay.
Pat Snow's building. It's about 5 to 6 acres. This property was proposed a number of years ago as two buildings with 60 units on it. And the application went through the planning and zoning process. It went to inland wetlands. At that time, there were no activities proposed within the wetlands. They were all within the upland review area. So the application was approved by the commission. This was back in about 2015. The application went forward to planning and zoning. The application was denied at planning and zoning for some technical issues. The applicant came back with an affordable housing project with about 90 units in a 5 or 6 story building. That application was denied by planning and zoning, and we had a settlement out of court. And what you see before you, there was an agreement by the court that would allow for the construction of 2 buildings with 30 units in each building, and then 2 commercial properties fronting on Shunpike Road. Now, that was part of the court settlement. In the meantime, after the court settlement, the property was sold, and it was purchased by the Carrier Corporation, and they also purchased the, so to speak, the approval, because the approval runs with the land. So, and the court settlement runs with the land. Now, they've decided that they want to go forward with the construction of those 60 units, but they want to make some changes. Now, we had a court settlement. We had their attorney draft an opinion to the town attorney in regards to whether or not those changes, and you'll see some of those changes this evening, are within the limits of the court settlement. And both the town attorney agreed with the applicant's attorney that the proposed changes were allowed by the court settlement. Basically, what they're gonna be doing is they're gonna be changing the location a little bit and the size of the 2 existing multifamily development buildings. They'll be changing the nature of the units, going from more 1-bedrooms to more 2-bedroom units, adding some additional recreational facilities and some amenities. So we're gonna see an application this evening that is based on that concept. So what you see before you, if it is approved by the Inland Wetlands Commission, will go to planning and zoning for a site plan modification. But yours is the first step, because there's an increase in the activities within the upland review area. There's no activities within the wetlands, but there is an increase of activities within the upland review area. And Rock is here this evening, and he's gonna present the application and describe those changes. And we're gonna be on the screen, so we're gonna give us a second, and we're gonna switch.
I'll hand this to Pam. This is just my presentation. A little fancy.
Well, no, he stays here.
Thank you.
apologize for the staple.
What?
I apologize for the staple on the right side. I don't know what I did, but that's how it's stapled. It threw me off, and I was like, I can't reprint these. Just so everybody's aware, for the record, my name is Rock Emmond. I'm a senior civil engineer with SLR International Corporation out of Cheshire, Connecticut. Here on behalf of the Carrier Construction Group, I'm here to talk about 186 Shunpike Road and Court Street. Just to give everybody some context, Stuart did a very nice job to kind of give you the background behind this. So the site itself is 5.34 acres. It's located just behind, I don't know if you remember, well, I guess remember, Mom and Pop's liquor store, directly behind it, across the street from, I think it's the Learning Experience. So this parcel of land that's located here, the topography is essentially, it's high along Shunpike Road at about elevation 144. As you go towards the northeast, located, and I can kind of highlight maybe a little bit better, that way you can see it.
Isn't there a house like right around there that they've been rehabbing or something for a while?
Yes.
Okay.
So along the frontage here, we're about elevation 144, and that's not showing up like I want it though. Let's see, can I make it look better? I almost wish I did have words. Let's see, if I did it like this, does that highlight? Come here. Apologies, technical difficulties. I just want to make sure you guys can see what I'm talking about. Modify. Make it thicker. Bang. All right, so hopefully you can see that. So along Shunpike Road, we got an elevation of 144. As you lead northeast, we have the wetlands that are located on site. These are denoted by the cyan line that's over here. There are 2 pocket wetlands that are located on site, as well as obviously their 100-foot upland review. So down towards that area, we're looking at about an elevation of 126. So there's an elevation delta between Shunpike Road and here. As you're on Court Street, it's more in the 130s. So you can basically say that, you know, as water is kind of flowing from Shunpike Road and Court Street, everything's flowing directly towards the wetlands. So from a runoff perspective, you know, that's kind of what you want. We did some soil testing that's located around the area. So we did about, I think 6 or 7 borings that are located within the upland review area to figure out what the soil profiles were. It's actually pretty nice sandy soils. So one of the big differences between the previous application that was approved in court and our application is that we're going to be utilizing those good sandy soils for stormwater detention or stormwater infiltration system. So as part of this application, and sort of in tangent with the previously approved application, the previously approved application had 2 residential large multifamily buildings, 30 units each, 2 mixed-use buildings that were going to be located along Shunpike Road, and 1 amenity building. What we're looking here now is just 2 residential buildings, an amenity building, and that's it. We're not looking for the commercial buildings along Shunpike Road. The difference between those previous residential buildings and these is, like Stuart said, these are going to be much more, I don't want to use the word luxurious, but much more apt to be more marketable and make sure that we're going to be getting, you know, good rents, as well as just making sure that the area is more affluent. So with that, the buildings actually got slightly larger and making sure that we can get the specific square footage as well as get the specific unit types within that. So in doing so, it all compiles together to where we need to mitigate stormwater within the upland review in some which shape or form. Previous application utilized an underground detention system that had an outlet outside the upland review, so they were not required to go to wetlands. But as part of our soil testing, it kind of makes more sense to utilize the existing soils as best we can. So what we're proposing is a detention system or a detention basin that's located directly behind one of the buildings, in between the building and the wetlands within the 100-foot upland review. Let's see. So as part of the detention system, and actually I got a better one, I can zoom in. As part of the detention system that's gonna be, or I guess it's more like a infiltration basin because of the nature of the existing sandy soils. Because of the nature of the system, we're mitigating the peak rates of runoff as well as providing groundwater recharge volume, as well as the new stormwater quality requirement for the 1.3 inches, which was previously 1 inch back when the previous approval was done. So there's about a 30% extra requirement, or I guess it's more of a guideline, but we're making sure that we're meeting all sorts of standards. So as part of all this, we have the above ground infiltration stormwater basin. There's an infiltration trench that's going to be located within the basin to allow for it to propagate into the existing surrounding soils. Pipes that are going to be associated with movement of water. Flared end sections to make sure that they can be receiving that water. Riprap spillways so they can make sure that we're not having any like scour velocities that are too crazy, as well as a level spreader that when the basin starts releasing the water, which, based on the sandy soils, I wouldn't expect much, but when it's releasing the water, that it releases it at a nice slow rate to the wetland itself. There are no direct wetland impacts that we're proposing, as well as we're providing the water quality within the basin. In tangent with this, not inside the upland review, but good information. Prior to the outlet that goes into the basin, we're utilizing a hydrodynamic separator. The hydrodynamic separator, I'm sure you guys have heard 1,000 times now, it removes 80% total suspended solids. So you're going to be seeing, very decently clean water as it goes into the basin. What we're going to be utilizing inside the basin is actually, I think Megan Fogarty from the previous application also is using the same sort of wetland conservation mix, a wet mix, it's specifically for ours because we have water that's going to be, held in the area. But as part of that sort of idea, we're proposing about 20,400 square feet of upland review disturbance with the clearing required to install the basin, the digging that's required to install the basin, the pipe digging that's required to install the basin. It really doesn't amount to much when you look at the actual straight numbers. We're digging about a 3.5 foot hole in the ground in order to mitigate the stormwater for the development. So it's not too crazy, and it's all within the upland reviewed area. But what we really want to make sure is when we're meeting all the requirements, we're going a little bit above and beyond when it comes to the development itself, as well as, we want it to look good for, the luxury apartments when you're looking outside the back window. So we're looking for that seed mix to essentially provide a planted meadow, essentially, in the bottom of the basin. So it's not going to be a typical basin where you just see straight grass at the bottom. We want to make sure that it's going to be something that somebody wants to either, they're walking their dog and they're walking around the neighborhood or the essential area, and it's something that they want to look at, or it's a point of interest, as well as just being functional. So we're allowing for the stormwater basin to function as if it is mitigating peak flows, as well as is sort of a focal point on the development. And as part of all that, we have to be very diligent in protecting the wetlands through the use of a sediment erosion control plan. So we're removing earth. That earth is, needs to be solid when we're all done. So what we're going to be doing is to protect the wetland, we're using a double duty silt fence as well as a straw wattle to make sure that the water is filtered, held back, and there's a maintenance program associated with maintaining the straw wattles during construction while that's all occurring. Associated with this, and technically within the upland review, is a little bit of a steep slope along the back of the building, and we will be using a erosion control blanket to stabilize the slope on the back. There's gonna be 2 temporary sediment traps that are gonna be located outside the upland review that will hopefully just spill over into the proposed detention basin, and then those will be eliminated at the end of stabilization at the end of construction. That's kind of it from a wetlands perspective. I'm open to any and all questions, comments, and thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the topography of the basin?
Yep.
And the topography of the land around the basin? And do you see the possibility or the potential for there being standing water in there for long periods of time? Or do you feel that given the nature of the soil and basically your slope, that you're not gonna have any standing water?
I do not think there would be any standing water with this, honestly. So just full disclosure, if you were to read through our drainage report, the infiltration rate is very, very, very high. So we're actually utilizing 10% of that infiltration rate because it's so high, and it kind of makes you a little nervous that it's going too fast. So the basin is actually bigger and has more surface area than it would normally be, because typically under normal conditions, you would take an infiltration rate and just cut it in half. But because we're seeing such high infiltration rates, we want to make sure that it's just, hopefully we're never wrong, and hopefully it's going to work out, but it's over-designed, and I don't foresee there being standing water. And even that, with the plants that's going to be installed in there, most of that would soak up some of the water in addition to the infiltration. Hopefully it answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
On earlier developments in this area that came before us, there were some vernal pools. I think soon that they're off-site, off this site, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? In other words, there are no vernal pools on your site?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
This was all done by a registered soil scientist to identify the wetland soils, so.
No vernal pools on the property.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
You said there's a steep slope behind building 2?
Yeah, it's like a 3-to-1 slope. Typically 3-to-1 is what we would consider steep because it's just mowable enough. So it feels steep, but it really isn't. From an erosion control standpoint, you want to make sure that slope's stabilized. That way there's not gonna, blah, 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 not gonna be any washout into the basin. Because the concern with the washout from a basin is you're gonna be getting fines in the basin that could potentially cause the voids in the sand to not allow for it to infiltrate and then be a problem later. So that's why we're utilizing the erosion control blanket.
Okay, there it is, okay, thank you.
It's got a little crosshatch on it, yep.
So again, I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. So again, this is an activity which is in the upland review area. And based on that, it appears that there's no impact on wetlands or water courses. So the first thing we would need would be to make a motion, if the commission so agrees, that there is no significant impact, and we can act on the application this evening.
I have a question before you do that.
Okay.
Brock,
Yep.
could you please explain from a civil standpoint, in the area where there's going to be the basin, which is, as you're describing, because of the test borings that you did, it's excellent perks.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Is it necessary to protect that area during construction so compaction doesn't occur?
Oh, yes.
How-
So
so
one
how
of
would
the
that occur?
reasons why we're doing the temporary sediment traps outside is because of a lot of lessons learned where you're getting a lot of fines that are clogging that sandy soils. So making sure that that's protected either by, the temporary sediment traps carrying all that construction water and holding that, and then there's a maintenance plan that basically every 6 inches or so of accumulated silt, they have to take that offsite. And that would protect the basin during construction. After construction, you're really not seeing much migration. So long-term, it should be great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Oh, and I just saw, we did receive one comment from John Harriman, which was to essentially put a maintenance program for the stormwater basin on the plans. We have no issues adding that. That's kind of a boilerplate thing. So obviously no issues, and it seems like John had no issues with our design either.
Obviously, when this plan gets, if this is approved by wetlands and it goes forward to planning and zoning, there'll be an extensive review by all the town staff, including water and sewer, fire, police, town engineer, building, sewer facility. So, and there'll be an application heard before the planning and zoning commission.
When this was previously looked at by the wetlands, did we find it to be not a significant impact activity at that time?
We did, because it was all only within the upland review area.
Based upon that, I would make a motion that we find this to be a insignificant activity.
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And so if the commission were to act on the application now, which they can, given the previous motion, I would ask that they act with the condition contained in John Harriman's memo of May 6, 2025. The condition being is that, as a condition of approval, that they submit a long-term maintenance plan for the property in Cromwell. So we have a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve with that condition.
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.